Hello, welcome to the stream. Today I'll be editing photos, some nighttime photos from the city that I got a few weeks ago. Let me know if the sound is out of sync. Last time it was out of sync, which is a bit annoying, but yeah, please let me know. Anyway, let's get started. So I took these in Adelaide. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something. And I've not got the chance to edit them until now, so you can watch me edit. This is only my second live stream, so I don't expect it to work perfectly, but if it does, that's nice. So this photo is very grainy, but I might be able to make it work. We'll see. Just gonna delete any ones that are not in focus. Okay. So this is the one I'm going to try and edit, and we'll see if it looks good. Start by brightening it up because it is very dark and it's not what I want, so let's do that with the exposure. Cool. And I'm thinking I'll bring down the highlights just so I can see the details in these street lamps. I think that's the right idea. I don't know. And I'll bring up the vibrance and the saturation just a bit. And we'll bring up this bit. And I'm going to bring down the clarity. Maybe like down -40. And bring up the texture a bit, just to give it a dreamy look, without making it too blurry. So yeah, if the stream is not working, if it's out of sync or something, please let me know. And if it is working, I'd love to know as well. That would be good. So I'm going to denoise this photo. Try and get it a bit more sharp. So I'm just going to have to wait for this to denoise. Yeah. Alright, so yeah. So I took these photos in Adelaide at night time, Adelaide City, a few weeks ago. and now I'm editing them. Not got the chance over the last few weeks to edit, but here we are. And this one is getting close to being denoised. Nearly there. I do really like this pattern on the road. It's like a bit of a leading line. So we've got the road as leading lines, but also that. It would be nice to have like a person walking in the middle of the street there. I think that would be really cool, or a car. But there's no one at that time. Okay, so cool. So we've denoised this. And now we can finish the edit. I'm gonna try some masking. Let's just wait for it. Okay. I reckon what I'm gonna do is a brush mask, maybe on this white pattern on the road. If I can bring out the highlights with that, might stand out more. So I'm just brushing over. Doesn't have to be too neat, but it's better to be neat. And bring up the exposure slightly. Same thing with the highlights and the shadows and the whites, everything up just a bit, not too much. And probably the clarity as well can come up a bit. Slight bit of texture and sharpness. Yeah, okay, so that's looking a little better. I do wonder if I can actually bring up the whites even more. I reckon I can. I reckon that looks good. Yeah, okay, I like that. And now I need to figure something else out. I'm gonna try a radial gradient on this. Don't know if this will look good. Might. Maybe just a bit of vignette would look nice. So I'm gonna bring down the highlights on the edges. Same thing with the whites, and bring down a bit of the shadows as well. Taking down the clarity to make it all blurry around the edge. Gives it a bit of a dreamy look as well. Yeah, okay, I like that. It's a pretty simple photo, but a good start, I think. So yeah, let's save that. I need to figure out Adelaide City. I'm saving this as a TIFF. Probably don't need to. I'm probably never going to use this photo, but if I ever wanted to print it out, a TIFF file would be pretty good. And then a full-size JPEG to sell online, maybe on my Redbubble store. And a small size to post on social media, Instagram or YouTube, anywhere. Yeah, so please let me know if this stream is running smoothly. I hope it is. Last time, the audio and the video, it was all out of sync, which I didn't know at the time. Not sure why. Hopefully this time it's better. Okay, so that one's ready. Okay, I'm just gonna see if any of these are any good. That's very blurry. Definitely not going to use that first one. also blurry. That one is not quite in focus, so this one's the most in focus. I don't know if it's probably not a great photo, but I'll just edit it. It's a good warm-up photo, and it might actually look alright. I'm not sure how I want to edit it though. So I'm thinking maybe make it brighter, but bring down the highlights again. Yeah, contrast, add some contrast to that. Now the shadows, I could bring them down or I could bring them up. Feel like I want to bring them down and make these two people walking the subject of the photo. This could look good in black and white, or it could look good in Okay, I think what I'm going to do is put the vibrance all the way down and put the saturation up quite a bit to bring out the red and the green lights. It's sort of like half black and white, half not black and white. I do it sometimes, it works. And with the clarity, definitely going to bring that down a bit, give it a dreamy look. I do love the dreamy look. And we're going to bring up the sharpening. Yeah, that's alright. And I don't know if I should denoise this or if this is fine. This could actually be fine as is. It sort of looks vintagey, I do like it. And denoising this photo will take too long. It always takes a while. I don't want to wait for it if I don't need to. So, I'm now going to mask out the subjects, these two people walking, because currently they're a little bit hard to see. Let me try that again. Yeah, cool. Bring out the clarity a bit of the texture, and definitely bring out the whites and the highlights. Exposure, yeah, I'll do exposure, and a bit of shadows. Let's see if we can make his face, the face is a little bit more visible. Yeah, that might be good. I don't even know if this is a good photo. It's maybe darken. Yeah, maybe that. I'll do that for now. Cool. Now I reckon some vignette. I always do it manually. I do not like the vignette in here. I'll show you. I do not like this. Never looks very good. I much prefer doing it manually with masking. So I'm going to get a radial gradient and just do that. And then invert that. And then bring down the whites on the edges. Sometimes the highlights, but this photo sort of... Now I'll bring the highlights down just a slight bit. Shadows all the way down. Clarity down. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Let's do that for now. I think I'm happy with that. So we'll export these. up, I have actually got some really cool photos that I'm actually really happy with. I did some cool exposure photos, which I've not done much of in the city, but I got a good one of a bus, and I'm very excited to edit that, so stick around for that. I should be able to get to that tonight. So, saving this as a TIFF. Probably will never use it, but I don't know, I might as well. Thanks for the thumbs up. I like that. Okay, let's add some more photos. Okay. Now these photos, I'm really interested to see if they turned out well. Not sure yet. There's some really cool graffiti in the background. The photo's loading. And there's a motorbike in front, but it might not even be that good. So, let's see if any of them are in focus. Okay, that one is slightly off. And so is that one. This one is pretty much perfect. Okay, let's see what I can do with this. I might try a crop. I think that looks a bit better. Now I could either go really dark or bright. And I don't know what I should do. I'm gonna go bright. Okay. Ooh, yes, okay. If I bring up the shadows, you can actually see the bike. Okay, I'm surprised. This might work. I didn't know at the time when I took the photo. Wasn't sure if it would work or not. But I reckon it might work. And I'm going to try this technique again, putting down the vibrance to -100 and saturation all the way up. So it just leaves some of the colours visible while the rest of them are black and white. So it's half black and white. So once again, taking down the clarity and bringing up the texture, giving it a dreamy look. I might be able to play with the dehaze just a tiny bit, and sharpening can go up, just as long as that's not too grainy. Okay, and now I'm going to denoise this and get rid of the graininess out of this photo. Yeah, okay, cool. So, now we just have to wait for this to denoise. Trying to think about what I could do to this photo to make it a bit more creative. I have done the half black and white with it, taking down the vibrance, bringing up the saturation. I guess that makes it a little bit creative, makes it a bit more interesting. I reckon bringing up the highlights on this bike will make it stand out more, because currently it's even though we brought down the shadows, it still blends in with the background. The background is very bright compared to the bike, which I don't think I like. So once this is denoised, I'm going to probably try and bring up the highlights on this bike, maybe even try and get rid of the highlights in the background, but maybe it'll still look good. We'll see. So we're nearly there, nearly denoised. Cool. So now it is way more clear, and what I'm going to do is bring up the sharpening, because that denoise does make it look very, very smooth, which can make it look very fake. So bringing up the sharpening will bring back a bit of that graininess that we got rid of, and just bring out the outlines, make it sharper. So that's done. Now let's mask out the red on this bike. Like that, and then look at that. Straight away it looks heaps better. Just as long as I don't overdo it, it should look good. Yep, bringing up the clarity will give the bike, it'll make it look sharper and not blurry, which should help it stand out from the background. And now to mask out the helmets, because we need to do a very similar to the helmets. So yeah, bringing up the clarity, bringing up the texture, and bringing up the whites and the highlights in the helmets. And a little bit of exposure, just a bit. It's very easy to overdo the exposure, so I do need to be careful. I reckon that's alright, and now I actually think I could mask out the tyre and make that stand out as well. So, bring up the whites, bring up the highlights, bring a bit of the exposure up as well, and contrast up, and clarity all the way up, and similar with the texture and the sharpness, all that up. And now there's still something I don't like about this photo. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to try out a linear, what is it called? A linear gradient mask. But what I'll do is subtract, hopefully this works, I'll subtract the bike and the helmets from the linear gradient mask. And then I'll darken that linear gradient mask, which will be the background, and that'll help the bike and the helmets stand out from the very bright background. Hopefully that makes sense. So I think that's done. Hopefully it's masked out everything. And now, if I mess around with this, it might actually look cool. Bring down the highlights, definitely. Bring up or down the whites? I reckon down. And the shadows, they can stay like that. I think this middle part needs to be masked out. There we go. Okay, that's a lot better. And then even bringing down the clarity again, that might look cool. Okay. So before and after. A massive difference. I've completely moved where the lighting is. In the original photo, the lighting was all focused there, and now I've made it so it's all focused on the bike, and it makes a massive difference. So I reckon, I don't know, I think that's somewhat cool. I will save that. It's nothing amazing, but nice and simple. So, now, moving on to the next photo. Once this is exported, cool, we're good. Let's see if we've got something good here. Okay. Okay, we're nearly up to some of those long exposures I was talking about earlier. I'm very excited to edit those. I've got at least one good photo that I think will be really cool. But before that, I've got some of these photos. So, I've got no idea if this is any good. Let's have a look at it. Now, is she in focus? 'Cause she would make a good subject. Let's see if we can turn down the shadows. Nah, not that one. So we won't use this one because we can't even see her face. This one might work. That one is very blurry. So I reckon I'll use this one because I might be able to. She's not actually in focus, but it might work, this photo. So yeah, bringing up the exposure and bringing down the highlights, maybe make it a little less extreme. I reckon I'll keep the contrast as is. And I'm not sure what I want to do with the shadows. Might bring them up a little bit. Bring the whites up a little bit. Add a bit of highlight. And now to clean it up a bit, make it look a bit more dreamy, we'll take down the clarity. And bring up the texture. Just so that everything stays sharp. And then bring up the sharpening to make everything stay sharp. And then that's probably ready to denoise, because this photo definitely needs denoising. It is extremely grainy and extremely noisy. So I'll denoise this now and we'll see if it works. So yeah, here's the preview. Don't know if you can see that on the live stream, but before without the enhance and after. It makes quite a big difference. So we'll do this. So I reckon what I'm gonna do with this photo once it's denoised is I'm gonna make her the subject. I'm gonna brighten her up so that she stands out a bit more. Maybe I'll just brighten up her coat and her face, maybe even the bag, just so that she stands out. I don't know what I want to do about this car light. I could make it a bit dreamy, make that look a bit foggy. It might be a good idea. Could even brighten it up if I want, or I can darken it. Usually that wouldn't look great, darkening it. And if I wanted to, I could try and remove distractions, but I don't usually like doing that, so I could just leave it. But things like this sign and that yellow box and these signs, they do make the photo look very messy. So yeah, this is nearly denoised. Takes a while. Cool. So that's just finished denoising, and now everything looks very, very smooth, which is good, but it looks too smooth, so I'm going to bring up the sharpening and add more of that grain that we took away. Cool. Okay, that's a good start. Now I'm going to try some masking, I think. I'll mask out her as the subject. Hello, meme time. Thank you for being here and watching. Okay, so I'm going to mask out her. So what I'm doing is I'm editing the photos that I took in Adelaide a few weeks ago, Adelaide City at night time. I've not had the chance to edit them until now, so now you guys get to watch. Cool, that's worked. And then we'll mask out a coat, just like that. So I'll bring up the exposure a little bit, same with the highlights, and same with the whites, just a tiny bit. Keep the shadows just normal, and I'll bring up the clarity a bit and a bit of texture, and that's probably all I need to do. I don't want to overdo it and make her look weird, so that's a good start. And now I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try a linear gradient, just like I did with the last bike photo. I'm gonna try a linear gradient here, and it'll either look, yeah, so I'll remove her from the gradient. This should work. Yeah, there you go. Can automatically do it. Lightroom is very helpful. Can automatically mask out the entire person and get her out of that mask. So now, if I bring down the highlights, she will stay the same, but the background will change. But now that I'm looking at it, I honestly wonder if it's better to brighten up the floor. I'm gonna try it. I don't know if it'll work. I'll bring down the shadows, but actually bring up the highlights and the whites in that floral. I'll blur it out a bit with the clarity. Cool. And now I think I should do something with this big light here. It might look cool, but it sort of looks big and ugly. So I'll see what I can do with this. So I can either bring it up, make it brighter, or I can bring it down and make it not as bright. So I need to figure out what I want to do. What do you guys think? I want your opinion on this. Let me know in the chat. I would love to know if you think it should be darker like this bright light, or if I should bring up the highlights and make it brighter. Let me know. Make the buildings darker? I'm assuming you mean these buildings. Yes, okay, yeah. I will do that. I'll see what that looks like. And yeah, what do you think about this light here? Darker or brighter? Let me know. And while I wait for that, I am going to make these buildings darker. I am thinking a linear gradient would work, but maybe I should just mask out the buildings. Or maybe I can do both, a linear gradient as well as masking just the buildings out. Do that, and then we will use the brush tool, just mask out the buildings and leave everything else normal. Something like that might work. I do sort of like the lights in those buildings, so I might actually try turning the highlight up but making everything else darker. So that all you'll really see of the buildings is the lights. Cool. So that's before that mask and after the mask. A small difference, but I think that's dark enough. I don't want to make it too dark, but I think that's good, like that. So I'll leave that for now, and then I'm gonna turn this brightness up a little bit with this car light. Maybe even contrast would work. Is my voice glitching? Like, is it lag or is it something else? Maybe I'll listen. I'll watch my own stream. Let me know if it is getting any better or if it's getting any worse. Let me know if it is getting any better. Oh yeah, okay. I see what you mean. I wonder if it's the microphone. That's annoying. What if I take this off? Does that sound better? No, it doesn't. Okay. I have got another microphone. I might try that next stream. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's actually very helpful. I'll probably just have to leave it for now though. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. This photo is probably done. That's a massive difference before and after. That's a lot done. Okay. I think that's done. It's another simple photo. A lot of editing just went into that, but I'm going to export that. I really hope I can figure out that microphone. I'll see if I can use a different microphone next time and it might look better. Might sound better. Okay, so next photo. Hopefully, so I'm now moving into the long exposure photos. I've got some here that might have turned out well. We're going to see right now. I've not actually looked at these ones yet, so I'm not sure how they turned out. But yeah, this is like nearly my first time doing these long exposure car lights. I've done it before, but this is the most I've gotten in one night. So these ones are not the ones I was excited about, but they might actually look alright. This one is blurry, so we can't use that. And same thing with that, blurry. These ones though might work. They sort of look cool, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna edit them though. I think it looks cool. I might just put the same edit on all 3 photos. I think that's the best idea. Ooh, I could make this really dark. I do actually like that. It looks really moody. Yeah, okay, so I'll bring down the exposure, bring up the highlights a little bit of contrast. I'll bring down the shadows, bring up the whites slightly. And bring up the colors. And I might actually make that red light, I'll bring up the luminance on that red light and the saturation. Make that stand out more. And maybe that blurry looks, yeah, that looks cool. Okay. Yeah, I really like that. So now a bit of sharpening. And luckily, I don't know how, Oh, because of the long exposure. These are not grainy at all, which means I'm not going to have to wait for them to denoise. It's like the most annoying part of these night photos. Waiting for them to denoise. I'm going to try and replug the mic in. It might actually fix that problem. We'll see. Okay, let me know if this sounds better. Just replugged it in. What do you guys think? Does it sound better or not? I think there's still a bit of glitchiness there. Anyway, I've just seen my camera battery is going flat that I'm recording with, so I'm going to quickly pause the stream and swap out the batteries. So I will be back in a minute. Okay, cool. I'm back. I've just changed batteries and we're all good. Still got that sound problem, but I'll sort that out hopefully next time. Anyway, let's continue on with this photo. Okay, so I reckon I want to try and mask this part of the building out a little bit, and see if I can brighten it up and make it visible. It might give it a cool look, or it might just not look good at all. So, I'm going to try that. So yeah, just like that, bring up the exposure a bit, the highlights, bring up everything, the whites, shadows, bit of contrast, some clarity, texture, literally everything. I think I like that. Don't know about you, but I think I like that. And then I'm going to mask out the top of this clock tower. I'm going to bring down the highlights of the clock so that it's more visible. It should work, but we'll see. the highlight bit. Yeah, like that. And the clarity just makes it a little bit more visible. A little better. Okay. And now, I reckon the last thing I will do to this photo is mask out the actual car. Let's try that again. Yep, like that, and then bring up the clarity a bit, not too much, because it does the same to that background here, but it does make the long exposure light from the car stands out more. So I think I'm going to stick with that. Yeah, okay. So that's before, and that is after. I think that looks a whole heap better. And I'm going to copy the edit settings and paste them on these other photos. And then I need to do the same with the masks that I did in the other photos. So, let's see if I can copy a mask over. Never done this. Copy, there you go. And then can I paste that in here or not? What do I do? Oh yes, okay, cool. I can. That was actually the wrong mask. Let me try the right mask. This is actually a very helpful thing to know. I didn't realize I could. I've never done it. I've never copied it and pasted a mask over to another separate photo. So you just go Control V, and then your mask is there. And because they're nearly in the same spot, the photos, I don't even need to move that mask. And I hardly need to change anything at all with that mask. Okay, cool. Let's keep that one like that. And then do the same with this one for a mask. So we're gonna Control V to paste that, then wait for it to load. It's loaded here, but it doesn't give me the settings. I won't wait, I'll just leave that. So there are my first long exposure edits of tonight, and I've got quite a few more to go. So I'm going to save those. So in case you've just joined, I'm currently editing my photos that I took in Adelaide, these night photos from a few weeks ago. Yeah, and you guys get to watch along. I don't remember if I saved a small size or a large size. I don't remember. Let's just do this. Just to be safe, I'm going to save the full size JPEG. It's fine if I have a duplicate. I'd rather have a duplicate than have a missing photo. So let's do that. And now we have to do that with the other two photos. So this one, export. and then make that a small size, just like that. Well, that's loud. Okay, can you hear me now? Or is it still the same? Probably is still the same. Okay, cool. It's working. There's a very loud, like, that fuzzy noise in the background. Not sure what that is, but at least we've got the sound working. That's a start. So I'll just leave it for now and hope it stays. Thank you for letting me know. I'm glad I got that fixed. Yeah, this is only my second live stream, so I don't know if it's working or not. So I'm just going to continue on this mini photo. I'm not sure what you heard me say before, but this is a photo that I got. I'm not sure if it's actually any good, but it's a mini on the side here with the building in the background. I honestly don't think it's gonna be any good, but I'm gonna have a quick look. So there's that one, and there's the portrait one, which I'm thinking looks better. Yeah, I like the portrait more, so I'm gonna do the portrait one. Gonna edit that one. Wow, look at that. It's a bit much. Gonna do it just a bit. Now this photo is extremely grainy, which is another worry. I'm not sure if it will work. I'm definitely gonna have to denoise this, but bringing down the clarity might help a little bit. But yeah, that's insanely noisy. Okay, so let's go straight to denoising that, 'cause that's disgusting. Okay, denoising that. If you've just joined, I'm editing the photos that I took at night time in Adelaide City just a few weeks ago. And yeah, you can come watch me edit. Yeah. I'm currently denoising this photo, so it will take a little bit. Maybe like 20 seconds. But this photo here I'm editing is extremely noisy, as you can see. Yeah. So later on I'm gonna get to, there's some really cool motion blur, long exposure photos I got. One that I'm really excited to edit is of a bus driving by. Hopefully it's actually good, because it's one of the few that I'm excited to edit. And it might not even be any good, so we'll see. And this is just taking its time, nearly getting there. So one thing I'm thinking about doing is, in the future, thinking of live streaming my photography trips. So maybe when I'm in the city, I could live stream, have the phone on my chest, and you guys could watch me while I'm taking photos. Could even make it into a bit of a game where you guys direct me around the city. I don't know. I could try and make it interesting like that. Oh wow, okay, I've just denoised this and it instantly looks better. So that's before the denoise, and then this is after the denoise. It's insane how clear that is. So I'm gonna add a bit of sharpening to that just so you can see the edges a bit more, so it's not as smooth. And yeah, now I can edit this. That denoise worked really well. So I'm going to mask out the Mini here, the car. Maybe just the whole thing, if it wants to work. Yeah, just like that. And brighten it up, bringing pretty much everything up. A little bit of no, I'll keep the exposure as it was. I don't want to play with that too much. Clarity can definitely come up. Probably need to fix it up a bit, make the mask a little bit neater. And yeah, make these wheels stand out. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. So there's a start. Now I need to... I don't like this bright light up here. Maybe it looks cool, but I don't think it looks cool. So I'm going to remove that. Just with a radial gradient like this. Not going to remove it completely, but just make it a little less. I could remove it completely. Maybe that's better. It's an interesting way to remove it, but I guess it works. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do that. Okay, that works. And now I'm going to mask out the front of this building and just make it look a bit more special. Make it look like this light is lighting up the entire front. Obviously a bit fake, but it'll look cool, I think. And nothing too full on, but just like even that, like that looks way cooler already. Makes the building look a lot more, I don't know, important. So yeah, just simple like that, and I'm happy with that. So going to try out a linear gradient from the bottom, going up, just covering up until that point. Could actually spin that as well, just a bit. So we're going to make it a bit blurry, but we're more going to darken it. I think darkening it looks better. Yeah, okay, like that. That's probably good enough. And I'm happy with that, so let's save that. It's just, I know it's fine, the photo. Might be a bit too contrasty, I'm not sure. Often I look back at photos I've edited and then I decide if they look good. I usually end up re-editing quite a lot of photos, and this might be one of them, but I'm happy with that for now. So let's keep that there, and moving on to the next photo. Okay, so there's this really cool, I don't know what you call this, really cool path that's like under a building, so it's like under construction. And it looks really cool when you look down from the end straight down, especially at night because of these lights. It looks, I don't know, a bit like a portal. I don't know. And I'm hoping I can do something with this, but it might just not be any good. Might not even be in focus. So yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the ones that are not in focus or just not perfect. And I'm going to leave this one. And now I reckon a crop is definitely needed. So I could crop in heaps if I wanted. I don't know. I could just leave this one out. Maybe just have a quick look. Ooh, the dark looks really cool. Let's just try a black and white edit, see what this looks like. It'll be a little bit abstracty, a little bit fine art. But I reckon I'll keep going with this edit. I'm not gonna bother denoising this, but I might see what it looks like if I brighten up the path. I think it looks better if I brighten up that path. And not heaps, just a bit. I definitely don't want to overdo it. Okay, that's nice. I think I like that. Really simple, but it sort of looks cool. So that's before, it looks pretty terrible, and that's after. I think that works. So yeah, just a quick edit with that. Okay, cool. Now moving on. Now street photography is not something that I'm amazing at. I am sort of trying to get better at it, but it's also not my favorite type of photography. So I sort of just do it just to get better at it. And these are some examples of that. So yeah. Now, if you're not following me on Instagram, that's where I'll post my finished photos. Yeah, I post all my favorite photos on there on Instagram, LMK Visual Lens, and some of these will end up on there as well. Okay, all of these are blurry, so I don't really like these. going to try these photos. Again, I'm not sure if this will turn out, if this will look any good. In the moment I thought it might look cool, just because you got this leading line leading up to this moody looking building. Hang on, my computer's slow. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to delete any of the ones that aren't in focus. I'm hoping one of them is in focus. None of them are in focus, which is completely fine. So definitely not editing any of those. Yeah, that was just a really quick shot I got in the moment, so that's why it didn't turn out how I wanted it. So, just looking for another photo. This one I'm interested to see if it'll look any good. So it's in like a car park, public car park, just through the fence. The wall looked pretty cool. There was like this, you'll see in the photo, it just looked very old in a way. You know, I don't know what to call this. But it's just a very cool detailed shot, and it's framed with this fence poles. Just sort of works. And we're going to see if they're in focus, which I think they are. Now I have to pick a favorite. That one is not perfect. And now out of these, there's basically no difference. So I'm going to go with this one. The composition is just very slightly better. So yeah, if you've just joined, I'm editing my nighttime photos from Adelaide City a few weeks ago. I haven't got the chance to edit them until now. And you can come and watch and chat if you want. See, I reckon just hardly changing anything there. I could probably bring the exposure up a little bit more. Now, actually that looks cool. The half black and white, that looks really cool. And then if I bring up the blue, yeah, that's pretty cool. So basically this part is all black and white, but then the colours, the very bright colours, they're not in black and white, and they just stand out heaps. So it's a little bit fake, but I like that sometimes. And I'm going to try and give it maybe a bit of a dreamy look. This light, for example, will sort of be a bit more dreamy if I bring down the clarity. And I'll bring up the texture just so it doesn't look really smooth and yuck. And then same thing with the sharpening, I'll bring that up to do a very similar thing. And I honestly don't think I want to bother denoising this, because it isn't really that bad and it sort of looks vintage, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep that graininess. Alright, let's mask out some stuff here. So I'm going to mask out, whoops, I'm thinking I'll mask out these boxes. And I'm wondering if Lightroom can actually detect these. Let's see. Because that would be very helpful. Yes, it does. Okay. Will it be able to detect this, which is a little bit more complex. Yeah, okay, nearly. Let's do the top there. Cool. I might do the bottom as well. And then this little bit. Cool. Okay, that's done. Now let's brighten up those a bit. Not too much. I don't want it to look fake. Clarity is probably the best thing for this. There you go. That stands out way more already. Before the mask, after the mask. Yeah, okay, I like that. So, let's do that. So before, after, and it's not finished. I'll do something with this light. Something very small, but I think it makes a difference. So radial gradient, we're going to do that. And then we're going to bring this in. And then bring up the highlights with that. And get rid of some shadows, bring up. Now we'll keep the whites as is. Bring down the clarity. Do a little bit less dehaze. And yeah, that looks just a tiny bit better. Okay, cool. I am happy with that. Very simple edit. Very simple way, simple photo. But I think the colours pop, and this is a very nice detail. Alright, cool. So, let's look for our next photo. Your cat like that? What do you mean? The photo? That's funny. Okay, hang on. I think we've got a bit of an issue with the live stream. Let me know if it's working fine. It's just giving me a warning. Okay, let me know if it glitches at all. If the stream glitches, says it's not running smoothly, which I'm not sure why. It looks fine on my phone, but yeah, let me know if something's going wrong. Okay, moving on, I'm going to try another photo here. Here we go, this is a cool photo. So back at that graffiti spot, if you were here a while ago when I was editing the motorbike photo, there's the motorbikes and there's the graffiti. But this is from the other side of the street, which is pretty cool. This is a nice wide shot of it.